You're listening to Dream It, Do It with the Masters, your guide to everything you need to know to get ahead in the creative sector.
April, thank you for coming on the Dream It, Do It podcast. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I feel very honoured to be here.
Yeah, perfect. We're excited to have you and talk about your experience in the beauty industry. So to start with, can you explain a bit of your background and how you kind of gotten started in the beauty industry?
Okay, well, I started in 1982 when I'm sure you weren't even born in those years, and the Australian beauty industry was actually just in its infancy. The first government course had just been accredited, which was at one of the big TAFE colleges, and in those days it was a 2-year course. There was no part-time course. I was lucky that by chance I met a boy at school. We were friends. It was nothing else, and his mum was a beauty therapist, and my school offered 2 weeks of work experience, and we didn't have a set period, but by law they had to let you do it. And I was thinking, this is a great way to get out of school. So I manoeuvred my way that I would get these 2 weeks of work experience, have the $5 a week or whatever it was, because I thought, yeah, any money's good money. And I'll get out of school. And so I moved ahead and I did the 2 weeks and I really loved it. And they offered me a job. And my parents were very unhappy because I was going to do law. And I said, yeah, I want to leave school. It took a lot of convincing, and I left school. And then I worked in this salon. And then the years went by. I did a lot of courses, a lot of training. That particular business did open up their own school. They had 4 clinics eventually, and I trained with them. But then I did go back and do other qualifications with that big TAFE college.
And then when was the moment you realised that you wanted to definitely be in the beauty industry? Was there like a specific treatment you did or someone that kind of like inspired you to start a career in it?
I think I was always interested in beauty. My mum is so not a beauty person. She's a social worker. She's sort of a boho hippie type. Everything she is, I am not. And I love her and she loves me.
Yeah.
And I was mixing up my own masks and reading Dolly magazine from probably went the age of 11 and steaming my face every week and doing these egg masks. And then when I actually realised it could be a career, I was just like, wow. And then when I had my first facial, which was during that time when I was doing the work experience, I thought, yeah, this is for me. And a job where you could talk and you didn't get in trouble. Nobody threw a ruler at you or a duster for talking. I thought, this is for me.
Yeah. And then when did you start thinking that you wanted to start your own business in the beauty industry?
I never wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be with a big corporation and run big things, and at one stage I went and did makeup, and I was doing a lot of makeup on the side and shoots, and then I didn't want to do that anymore. I sort of grew out of that, and then I decided I wanted to do marketing, and I went to university and I did a little bit of marketing, but it was really too hard because at that time I was working for someone and running their business, and then just a natural evolution happened, and I was thinking that maybe I'd wanted to have a business, but I'd never really planned it. And then it got offered to me. They were selling the business, and they said to me, "Would you like to buy the business?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can run this so much better than you. I've got so many new ideas. Your old fuddy-duddies, they weren't. It's just an age thing. I could see a way forward, and so yeah, I bought the business and spent about 2 years changing it and evolving it to a skin business.
And where did you learn all your business skills?
I've learnt them I learnt them through doing lots of little courses, lots of bigger courses, training, doing some university of marketing that I didn't end up finishing. I mean, some of it is learnt on the job. It's just an evolution. Like when you've been in the industry for over 40 years, there's a lot of stuff that you do just learn.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I know everything. As soon as you think you know everything, it's time to pack up.
And was that when Beauties came out?
So what happened was that clinic's name was Salon 2001 because that was the suite number, and they owned other businesses. I couldn't take that business name because that was their company name. So I called it Beauty because it sounded a bit more chic than Beauty 2001. And so that I still have that business today, and that business, I have a manager in there. I have another senior girl. Those girls have been with me for over 25 years, which is fairly unique in this industry. So that business runs itself, and it is a great business, yeah.
And then now your main focus is April Brodie, integrated facialist.
Yeah.
Can you explain what is an integrated facialist?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of the background about the April Brodie Integrated Facialist. So I had been working with a business coach just before lockdown, and I was using it for my other business. I had learnt the buccal treatment. That's another journey in itself. And I knew that this treatment would really gather legs. I had seen it probably 8 years earlier in London, and I had spent a lot of time trying to learn the technique. Eventually I learnt the technique. That's another journey. And I employed a business coach because I wanted to really push forward with that treatment. And then during lockdown, I built it out. And then in the middle of lockdown, I was travelling back and forth to Sydney, treating a lot of beauty editors, and I realised I needed to take it away from my other business, and it needed to be a unique business in itself. And so we really looked at a couple of ideas, and we looked at what my skill set was. And I had a lot of different, had a big skill set. We had a lot of different things that I wanted to integrate and use within that treatment space. So that's how it was born. It was really a phrase that we coined ourselves. There's no training for it. You know, it covered a lot of things that I'd trained over the years.
Yeah. And so the first treatment was the buccal?
Was the buccal treatment. So I learnt that buccal treatment. I travelled to New York to hone my skills in with Dana and Mari. Was lucky when she was alive to call her my friend, and she helped me an awful lot. And then it was through her that I heard about Cecily Braden, who is the Gua Sha Queen specialist. And so then I went back on another trip to the States and studied with Cecily, and then I've got a great friendship with Cecily. She's actually here this weekend, so I'll go and meet her in Sydney, and I became her distributor for Australia. That happened in the middle of lockdown. So, yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know what a buccal treatment is, can you explain the process of the treatment?
So when we talk about buccal, and I will say that when I first learnt the treatment, I wanted to call it buccal, and people want to call it...
I thought it was called buccal.
It's a bit like highs and bouquet, but when you talk about buccal, we're talking about the buccal pads. Yep. So you actually put your fingers in the mouth with gloves to anchor your fingers so that you can manipulate the buccal pad, so you can push on the buccal pads at the front of the face, and that's a main junction in the face, so you can get this, when you release that tension, you get this beautiful lift.
So it's like a non-surgical facelift.
Absolutely.
And do people ever get like weird reactions when you start doing the treatment, or they very know it's about to happen?
I think by the time people have booked in for that treatment, they know they know what's going to happen. I'm fairly well known for that treatment, and I've had a lot of press about it. So they sort of know. They can look at your Instagram page, they can look at TikTok, they can see what's going to happen. So I don't have that. I'm sure before, if they're telling their friends or before they even get to make that phone call to make the appointment, I'm sure all of that happens, but rarely I see it. Occasionally you'll get someone who'll start giggling in the middle of the treatment because they think, well, this is weird. But they're normally pretty good.
And who do you think is the perfect candidate for that kind of treatment?
Everybody. It's a treatment if you've got TMJ. Most people have got some sort of tension in the neck, décolletage, and that buccal area. So everybody loves that treatment.
Yeah. And has there been someone who's had a really good review after it, their experience after the treatment? Has something ever stood out to you about something said about your treatments?
Well, I had a client, I will say, look, a lot of people say a lot of really lovely things, but, I had a client just the other day who had a lot of trouble with TMJ, and really that was not the reason why I started doing this treatment. And when people started coming to me with jaw problems, I was like, I'm not a doctor. I'm here to look after your skin. And then I realised that it was a bigger treatment than just skin. It was a whole body treatment. It was completely holistic. I had a client the other day who had come, she'd been and had so many other treatments done. She's a scientist. She sent me the most beautiful message afterwards saying that it was life-changing. And to me, that's what makes me get up every day and go into my treatment room.
Yeah. And is there a big difference between the buccal and then doing a Gua Sha treatment?
100% different. So buccal is a massage. Gua Sha is a massage, but Gua Sha works on the tissue. So people will say, oh, it's lymphatic drainage. It isn't. So lymphatic drainage is a specific massage technique that is learned. And we call it a medical technique because you can do that treatment when the client's got sutures in their face, or they've had some sort of severe laser treatment which has caused issues on the skin, it's basically burning that top layer of skin off like a CO2 laser. We can still do lymphatic drainage during that time. But Gua Sha is a treatment that works in synergy with buccal, or you can use it on its own. personally, I use that treatment with the buccal treatment. I don't do a standalone Gua Sha treatment.
So it's good to have them both together.
I like to use it because that's how I fuse them together. It's not the way it should be. It's just my
Preference.
It's just my preference.
Yeah.
And I don't use a scraping technique, which is a traditional Chinese medicine technique. I use a special tissue technique that's a facial technique that has been designed in New York by Cecily, and that she sort of travels the world teaching people that technique.
Yeah, cool. And then you also have another interesting treatment, which is the bee venom.
The bee venom treatment isn't. I don't own that treatment. I'm very lucky to be the only person in Australia that does that treatment. That's a treatment that was designed by this incredible skin therapist in the UK called Deborah Mitchell. She's world renowned. She treats Camilla. She just receives. I should know what it is, but anyway, she just received some OBE or something from Camilla, and she's got this unique bee venom treatment. Her sister is a beekeeper, and she started thinking, well, I think if I use bee venom in a skincare, I could get a great result. And I had that treatment in the UK. I'd seen that treatment. I did a lot of research, and then during lockdown, I decided that I wanted to bring that treatment to Australia. So I approached them. I've approached a lot of people over the years, and I've approached so many people asking if I could bring these incredible treatments into Australia.
Yeah.
And I honestly, for every no, I reckon they were the only yes. And they were actually the top of my list. So I was actually incredibly grateful that I had that.
And so how does that treatment work? Like what is inside the bee venom that is helping with people's skin?
Okay, so there's 500 creams that are made every year by this particular company. I'm lucky to have an allotment for Australia. So bee venom therapy has been going for a really long time. If you go back to it's even been around since the pyramids, since the ancient Egyptian times. And if you look at Eastern European people, they would use bee venom therapy. So if people often have arthritis, they would pop their hands and let a bee sting them, and when the bee stings them, it encourages all of these steroids to come to that area, creates a swelling, puffs the skin out, and heals it up.
Wow.
So they've used this same theory with the skin. So it basically causes an inflammation to that area, floods the area, puffs it up, encourages collagen and elastin production, and it is super fit. It is only for a short period of time. It's not. There's no. It's not like skin needling, but it is an incredible treatment. It gives this incredible glow. It's got this beautiful massage with it. It is a lovely, lovely treatment.
Does it hurt?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Do you feel like a bit of a tingling sensation when it happens? Or
in one part where we do the exfoliation process, it's just like having a very low level peel, but no, not at all.
Right. And then what have people's experience with the bee venom facials been like?
It's a beautiful treatment. It's a treatment that if you wanted to treat yourself, have this beautiful luxury treatment that gives your skin this incredible glow with a lifting massage, it's a treatment for you.
Yeah. And is there a facial that you do or a treatment that you do that's your client's favorite? Like they always come to you for that?
Well, it would have to be the buccal treatment. It's a treatment that I'm known globally for. It's a treatment that I travel, interstate. I travel once a month to Sydney. I have a residency in Sydney in Double Bay. I go to London a few times a year. I'm looking at now going on to Dubai, and there's a few other places that have asked me to have a residency. I just only have two hands, and I have a commitment here in Australia that I need for my clientele. But yeah, it's a treatment that I'm known for, and I have developed a new treatment based on Korean techniques that I launched at the end of last year, which has been very interesting.
Oh, now that you brought up Korean techniques, I know that a lot of people have started to get into Korean skincare. What are your thoughts about the 12-step Korean skincare routine?
Okay, I get asked this question a lot. So the Korean 12-step skincare is a fallacy. It was one journalist out of the States that coined the phrase, and then it just sort of gathered legs from there, but there's no 12-step routine. Let's be clear on that. Koreans are into preventative skincare, and they will do they'll do a multi-step treatment, but they won't do a 10-step routine. I don't believe that, and having spent time in Korea, no.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think because on TikTok, it basically went viral. You'd see a lot of influencers using a lot of different skincare products and then just putting that on their face, and their skin's like glass. But is maybe like a 3-step skincare all you really need?
I think it depends on what you're treating. I think the average routine is basically a base routine is 3 steps. It's basically a serum, a cream, and sun protection.
And for early 20s, what is a product that you would highly recommend they start using now to make sure that their skin is glowing when they're...
I think sun protection is the key. And I know that people bang on about it all the time, but when you're 60, I can honestly tell you, you would wish that you had that sun protection. It is, and I think the 20-year-olds are very, very good at that, whereas 30 and 40-year-olds, they were told by their parents to be sun smart, but they weren't. And people my age, I came to Australia when I was a young child, and we came from the UK. My mum loved the sun, and she would wheel us out to the beach. I would be burnt. I'm so fair. And my mum was much more olive than me. And she'd say, no, you're fine, move it. And, that sun damage that I've got now, even though I didn't spend a lot of time in the sun after I, try and hide in the shade, you do notice it when you're getting towards 60.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of girls that are going on their, hot girl summer Europe trip. Would it be, a smart idea to not be out in the sun as much, or just make sure you've always got sunscreen on if you are going out and tanning at the beach kind of thing?
I think you've always got to have sunscreen on, but I think a hot girl summer, when you're trying to look hot on the beach, you're trying to look for boys, and you're in Mykonos, I think there's no way you're going to hide.
Yeah.
You're never gonna look hot if you're not brown.
Yeah.
I think it is hard. It's very hard. Do you use fake tan? I think there's I really do think there's a happy medium.
And if, let's say, they haven't been using sunscreen protection and they get to an age where you can start seeing the sun damage, what's a treatment or a product they can use to start maybe not showing as much damage on the skin?
I think it's never too late to be sun smart. It's never too late to stop and start using a sunblock. I think if you have that much sun damage, then you need to have some sort of topical medical intervention, which would you be looking at? The easiest one is probably a laser, and there's lots of different lasers depending on the type of pigment you're treating, from IPL all the way through to pico, through to some sort of CO2, which will completely resurface the skin.
Yeah, that's a lot of research that someone has to do to pick treatments that are right for their skin. Would you suggest either going to a specialist to find the best treatments for you, or is a quick TikTok search gonna help you out?
I think everyone does a quick TikTok search. Even I do a quick TikTok search. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there is a time and a place. And I think when you're wanting to treat your body like that, and there's a lot of risks where the opposite can happen. You can end up with hyperpigmentation. You can end up with big blanch marks on your skin. I think then you need to go and seek a professional help and ask them what they think. I think you also need to be mindful that you need to go somewhere that offers many different types of lasers so they can give you the best advice. Often, unfortunately, when someone only has one particular machine, it's not that that's wrong. They will often are not equipped to give you a 360-degree version of advice.
Yeah, perfect. And I think we'll go to the advice section of the podcast. So a lot of our listeners are in the early stages of figuring out what they want to do in their career, might not know what they want to do, or might want to start their own business. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start their own beauty brand?
Just do it. There's never a right time. I think when you overthink things, and I'm a big overthinker, I think sometimes just do it. You when you're on your own, you're nimble and you can change and you can adapt. The younger you are, the less you have to lose. The older you are, sometimes you've got a mortgage, you've got kids, you've got other things. I think the younger you start, the better it is. I really do believe that.
And how do you balance work, life, personal versus career?
I'm probably the worst person at this, because I'm unusual that I really love what I do today. I love it as much as the day I started work. And work often is my hobby. At the same time, I'll spend so much time researching. The people that, my industry connections are my friends, and I'll be out for dinner with those people. I think what's right for one person isn't right for another person, but I think you do have to have downtime. I think you can't be constantly on the whole time. There is a point in time when you do have burnout, and it's not that I haven't suffered that. I've definitely suffered it several times during my career, and it hasn't been great, I will say that.
It's like highs and lows, it always up and down.
Yeah, it can't be perfect the whole time, and there are times when things are miserable and you feel like you're failing. It does happen. I think people that say, oh, no, I've just been success and I was lucky and I had all of these things. There is luck, but there's a lot of hard work that goes behind that luck.
There's a saying, it's like, if it's always perfect, you're not learning from it, because mistakes are where you learn from
100%.
from things.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
And do you think that throughout your career, there's been more growth in your mistakes versus your achievements?
Yeah, I think the times I've played it safe, and I often get into a rut. Personally for me, I know I have to push myself, and I understand sometimes you make a mistake, but you just pick yourself up and move forward, and do look at what I've learned from that. You've got to look at the positive, which sometimes when you're in the middle of the eye of the storm, it can be super hard.
Yeah. And what's a piece of advice you would have given to your younger self?
I think I would have jumped. I would have done things sooner. I wouldn't have thought. I spent so much time thinking and trying to make things perfect. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I think that's probably my biggest issue.
Yeah.
I've got a lot, but that's probably one of them, yeah.
I love how when you said just do it, and then podcast is dream it, do it. So it's a nice connection
it is
there.
true. I think you do just have to do it. You just have to jump. And your generation's so good at that. Like you're just so nimble. You just go, well, I can set up a business. I don't have to have any money. I can set up a TikTok. You don't have to spend a fortune on advertising. I think it's so good.
Yeah.
And you're not scared. Like, I come from a whole generation where fearful. Like, people will DM me, can you teach me? And I'm like, well, no, I don't train people, but at least someone gave it a go. Like, always ask, what's the worst? You're no worse off than when you started.
Well, there we go. That's the TED Talk quote of the day. We're going to finish the podcast with a fun little quick fire segment. So whatever comes to mind, just go for it. So
Okay, I'm on it.
What's one beauty trend you wish would disappear forever?
I think, as much as I love TikTok, I think any trend on TikTok, I think we've had some crazy trends on TikTok. I think any sort of crazy clickbait trend I hate. Like when we've had things like feces on the face.
God.
Yeah, we've had menstrual blood on the face. I think all of those crazy things. It is just clickbait. But I do worry do people actually do these things?
Yeah.
That's what worries me.
Yeah. What is one product in your routine that's underrated?
Cleansing. Cleansing is my all-time most underrated step.
Do you have like a favorite cleansing product?
I love any balm cleanser, and there's not many balms I don't like. There actually was one Korean balm I did have last year, Mayu. I hated it. It was awful. But I'm a Rationale girl, and I love Rationale. So the Rationale balm, there is nothing better than that balm. It's incredible.
Everybody stock up on some Rationale balm now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
True or false, expensive doesn't always mean effective?
Correct, I agree. Expensive doesn't always mean it's effective. Just because it's beautifully packaged, or it's a $5,000 cream, doesn't mean it's great.
Why do you think that brands will just hike up the price even though it's not as good as a product that's cheaper?
I think it's market placement. It can be their advertising. It can be the packaging. All of those things contribute to the price of the product at the end of the day. I think often as skin therapists, we become snobs. I know there's times I've become a snob in my career. I can only have a professional product. I think we've moved on from the 80s now, and there's a lot of great brands out there. And I think spending time in Korea has really opened my eyes. There is some great quality products that definitely you don't have to spend a lot of money on.
Yeah. Funniest reaction someone's had after a buccal facial?
I think one of the funniest things, people said, well, this really does work.
You're like, obviously.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this does work.
Biggest facial red flag people should look out for?
I think the biggest facial red flag people should look out for is somebody that's not open to hearing what their client has to say. You learn an awful lot from clients and what's working for them. It's not always right, but I think there's sometimes if somebody comes in and lays on the bed and says, look, I've tried everything and I tried this step and it worked for me, you've got to understand why it's working and what went wrong. I think you've got to be open to change and open to what's happening in the real world. I think sometimes as therapists, we get in a little bubble and we only listen to the companies that are dealing with skin, with professional products, and only the people in our facial bubble, people that are doing those treatments. I think there's a lot to learn from the client.
Yeah. Perfect. What are your thoughts on a 19-year-old using a 12 steps Korean skincare routine? I think you answered this before.
I think probably at 19 you've probably got all the time in the world. That's probably when you've got the most time to yourself. And I think, look, if that lights your light and lights your day, I think go for it. I think there's no such thing as saying no. But if budget was an issue, you definitely don't need 12 steps. Yeah.
Thoughts on people starting Botox in their early 20s?
If you had really bad 11s and it gave you resting bitch face and feel cranky the whole time, I don't think there's a problem with that, because that's a perception and how you're moving ahead in the world. I get sad. I get really sad that people feel they need to do that to survive in this world. I think it's very sad.
Yeah. I think especially with social media,
it's tough. I would be terrible. If I was 20 now, I would be terrible. I would be taking selfies the whole time. I would really be affected. I can understand how it affects people. It affects me now at 59. Yeah. It's tough. I think it's very tough.
Yeah. If you could give your 20-year-old self one skin tip, what would it be?
Sun protection, no solarium. I grew up in an age when we had solariums in salons, and because I was so fair, I would go in the solarium. We were taught that it was the good rays in the solarium were tanning you, so I would definitely never go in a solarium.
Yeah. And last one, what's the facial you'd do if Beyonce was walking in for a treatment?
Or I would give her a buccal treatment. Yeah. That's one treatment I know that if I put my hands on their face, I could change their life.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that wraps up the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. If you'd like to shout out any socials you have to camera or anything you've got coming up and coming, feel free to do it in this one over here.
Okay, you can see my Instagram page at April Brodie Integrated Facialist on Instagram, TikTok, and you can also, my website is www.aprilbrodie.com. Thanks, guys.
Perfect.